This dragon started out as a pour painting I did earlier this month. The images of the progression are on my Instagram, and I will include the link under the video. I highly recommend you check them out. I use Procreate app on my iPad Pro. Procreate is a raster-based app, so this is computer art traced over the image of a painting that I actually did. I traced over in Procreate so you can see how it's done and to save time. Most artists, when they use reference photos for their work, have them off to the side, but I wanted you to see the process. I'm creating the outline, trying to follow the lines that I'd blocked out in the original painting. The lines are irregular and jagged because the cells that made up the painting itself. I tried to go with the flow as much as I could. Making the decisions on where to make those lines to bring the dragon out was actually really easy. But the snout and the tail were areas where I really had to stop and look and keep looking. I looked at it for quite a bit actually, slept on it, and then in the morning I made the rest of my choices on where to block it out and what to keep. In the painting I imagined the swirly bits were horns, but the computer art I wanted them to be more prominent, more obvious. I thought that elk horns would complement the dragon the best, and I used an elk photo as reference here. I don't know if this is normal or not, possibly undiagnosed mental illness, but I like creating stories in my head to explain things in my art. I was imagining that her claws were bursting out of her flesh. She needed a hand, and I made her a hand. Then I tried giving her two hands, but it never felt right, so I didn't keep it. A photo of a fox eye was used for a reference. I changed the color to green because of course she has green eyes. I was really happy with the eye even though I rushed through it. It has a huge amount of detail if I zoomed in on it. I wasn't happy with the size of the horns. They don't look grand enough to me. I erased them and redrew them a bit larger. Wow, look at that rack. Here I'm doing a lot of detail work, very tedious and time consuming. I'm inking the cells but not the whole paint cell. I'm inking just two sides of it. It's unnecessary to ink the whole cell. The human brain is actually quite adaptive. It does this trick where it fills in incomplete data. It adds the missing information. It's an important idea to understand in art. Science Daily has a very good article on it, and I'll include the link to that under the video. I'm pretty new to Procreate, so I'm still figuring out how I should separate the layers. I did the inking on a separate layer, and on another layer the coloring in the body. The red fur was on its own layer, as was the background. I didn't color in the entire body. There ended up being lots of gaps in that layer, which I ended up utilizing pretty well. I opened up a new layer underneath it, and I just played around with different colors that showed through the above layer. That was pretty fun. This was the accumulation of days of work from the original painting, waiting for it to dry, to isolating the dragon, reworking the background 2 or 3 times, waiting for that to dry, putting on a gloss coat over that, taking the photo, then doing the computer art over 2 or 3 days. I did end up changing the location of my signature and date because when I uploaded it to Instagram it cropped it out, so I had to play around with the placement on that. A lot of this is new territory for me. Instagram, YouTube, and Procreate. I've been looking into uploading the art to different online sites for sale, which was the whole purpose of creating this image on Procreate. But because I was using the default new page option to start, the resolution and detail were not good enough to upload and print. So I'm going to have to do this over again in A4 at 300 dpi. It's a steep learning curve.